My name is Grant Duckworth and I'm Secretary of Blackpool Boat Angling Club. I would now like to talk you through the requirements for membership of the club. To qualify for membership of Blackpool Boat Angling Club, boat insurance and a valid driving licence must be produced. In addition to this, the boat must also undergo an annual sea check.
First aid kit? Yep.
Sea Check is a free safety advisory service run by the RNLI.
Life jackets.
At the club, we have our own certified RNLI advisor to do these checks. That's what's happening here. So, let's now take a close look at what Sea Check recommends.
Hello there, I'm Tony Clare. I'm the Divisional Sea Safety Manager for the RNLI in the north of England, and I'd like to tell you a bit about the sort of flares you should carry on a boat when you go to sea. Not only having the right flares though, it's very important that you know how to use them. One of the very good ways of attracting attention is a parachute flare. A red parachute flare will go up to 1,000 feet and burn for 40 seconds. To operate the parachute flare, both caps need to be removed. You will then see the firing mechanism held in place by a red tag, which should be removed. The trigger will then fall loose. Grip the tube firmly in one hand and with your other hand raise the trigger until you feel some pressure. Once that you know that the rescue services are on the way, they will want to know exactly where you were. And a good way of doing this is to fire off a pinpoint flare. The orange smoke handheld flare is operated in the same way as the red hand flare. The red hand flare is operated by pulling the trigger mechanism down, twisting it clockwise, and then resting against the two spigots that you will see. The end of this is then hit with the palm of your hand, and as soon as the flare ignites, you will need to move your other hand down to the handle as the flare burns with a very, very intense flame. This one burns with a very, very bright red light and is particularly suitable for use at night. During the day, a very good way of pinpointing your position is an orange smoke flare. Flares should always be stored in a robust, dry container. Flares should only be bought and used when they are well within their date of expiry. Blackpool Boat Angling Club would recommend that you have 3 red parachute flares. These can also be augmented with handheld orange smoke and handheld red pinpoint flares.
1 life jacket with at least 150 newtons of buoyancy is required for each person fishing on board. They don't have to be self-inflating like this one, so long as they are approved life jackets. Buoyancy aids will not suffice. The most practical means of alternative propulsion is an auxiliary outboard motor. Though being a member of a club with a VHF requirement means that you can usually get a tow back in if you break down. Alternative propulsion can also mean oars or paddles. An alternative means of starting in case of battery failure means a pull cord for the main engine. Temporary steering means anything that can be roped or similarly fixed to the outboard engine to use as a tiller. An oar or a landing net handle are 2 typical examples. Always carry a fully rigged anchor with heavy chain and sufficient warp to reach and hold bottom in the area being fished. The Sea Check recommended additional items list mentions a kedge anchor. This fisherman's anchor is a kedge anchor. A second, fully rigged backup anchor is also strongly recommended. VHF radio to get in touch either with other boats or the rescue services has become an essential piece of safety equipment these days.
Liverpool Coast Guard, Liverpool Coast Guard, Liverpool Coast Guard. This is Taurus. Could we have a radio check, please? Over.
Taurus, Liverpool Coast Guard, loud and clear, over.
A handheld VHF and a mobile phone are all very well as backups, but are not advisable alternatives to a fixed DSC VHF radio set. With the advent of GPS, the magnetic compass has become almost obsolete as a day-to-day working tool. That is, until you have a power failure. So carrying a compass, even if you don't use it, is essential. Admiralty charts can be extremely useful guides for locating fish, as well as for finding your way around. Navigation publications, plotting instruments and a table of emergency signals, while also recommended, are aimed more at coastal sailors rather than anglers. The C-check requirement is for either a hand-operated or an electrical bilge pump. A hand-operated pump makes good sense in the event of a power failure, though most small boaters these days do fit electrical pumps. Buckets are carried pretty much as standard on most small boats. A flat-bottom bailer is also useful for getting water off a flat deck. Making major repairs at sea to an engine fixed outside of the boat is nigh on impossible, but minor get-me-home repairs, such as plug changes, electrical repairs, and patching up fuel lines can mean the difference between getting home under your own steam and getting a tow back. As with the outboard repairs, patching yourself up at sea also has its limitations. Protecting wounds and stemming bleeding are the obvious targets. Painkillers can also be extremely useful. Port and starboard navigation lights come as standard on most new boats. These must be in working order. An all-round white light on a high vantage point is also essential when fishing at anchor after dark. In fog, sound is more important than vision, so a gas canister foghorn is required. Small glass fibre fishing boats don't show up well on radar, and I'm not sure how much good a radar reflector sitting low in a pitching sea is going to be either. But better to be safe than to be sorry. If somebody falls overboard while fishing at anchor, they could drown in the time it takes to get the anchor up. A life ring or similar will support them until a rescue gets underway. Similarly, going overboard from a moving boat while out on your own would also be disastrous, hence the need to attach the outboard kill cord. Fiberglass is an extremely tough material, and this is only a thin window cut, so imagine how tough a whole section with roving matting is going to be, on top of which most hulls these days are double skinned anyway. But a hull could still suffer serious damage if it hit a static object at speed. If you can plug the hole, say with a wiper rag, the age of a bilge pump or a bucket, you should be able to make it back to shore. Having light in the dark has many uses at sea. Tackling up, netting fish, and seeing where you are going being typical examples. Signalling for help and indicating your position to would-be rescuers would be two further advantages. Different types of fires require different types of fire extinguisher to control them. An extinguisher filled with either CO2 or powder will cope with both electrical and fuel fires, and is therefore the most versatile choice for small boat use. Not many small dinghies are fitted with a cooker, but with portable stoves now readily available, a fire blanket to smother any mishaps is no big investment to make. Some means of telling the time is essential for working out things like where you are in the tide and predicting conditions back along the shoreline. And the end product for having all the right equipment is this: a C-check sticker, which must be renewed every year. The RYA Powerboat Level 2 course, while not obligatory at the moment, is also strongly recommended. This will also stand holders in good stead for launches elsewhere in the country, where in some instances, such as New Brighton for the Mersey cod fishing, it is required to use the slipway. What follows is a flavour of what this course is all about.
Yes, good morning. My name is Peter White, and I run my own school, which is Sea Fever International, and I spend a lot of time working with Honda and doing the training for people who purchased boats 75 horsepower and over. Today we've come down for a 2-day course on RYA Level 2, Royal Yachting Association Level 2, and we'll be looking at a general overview of the syllabus. We will need to look at charts right the way through up to satellite navigation and tides, the collision regulations, and then on the practical side we need to look at general boat handling. That comes in with launching and recovery, and after the launch and recovery we'll do slow boat handling work. Some of that's going to take us to pontoons and jetties, picking up moorings, And then of course the very important area, which is the man overboard drill, the man overboard recovery drill. If someone's fallen in the water, how you recover them, how you look after them. Right the way through to bends and hitches with ropes, and looking at a person coming away with a considerable amount of confidence to go forward, but not to be overconfident so that they actually go out and make serious mistakes. Yeah, launching considerations are quite important. Obviously you need to know what we're launching down. I mean, this slipway here is fantastic. It's concrete, it's in good condition, and it's got quite a nice angle to it. But some of the launching sites we use, they're really suspect, where you might drop off the end of the concrete straight into mud, and you might have to detach the vehicle from the trailer in order to keep the vehicle clear of the water. Lots of considerations like that. But if you actually look at the end of the slipway, we've got waves coming in on the end of the slipway, and they're not going to cause us a problem, but they could be a problem if it was rougher, and it certainly could be a problem if there was a large ship passing and it would create wash, because it doesn't need much of a wave to lift a boat off a trailer. And I find in life that more damage is probably done and more injury done to incorrect launch in recovery than when we're actually out on the water. Okay, question time. Which bit of the boat's doing the turning?
The engine's pushing the back around.
The engine's pushing the back around. Where's the fulcrum? Where's your pivotal point? There's no other vehicle I can think of, although I'll probably get challenged on it. There's no other vehicle I can think of that has two totally different pivotal points. And that, of course, is one of the reasons why, when you're going astern, the back wants to go up into the wind. The pivotal point is close to the engine. You're doing a good job on this. Very good indeed. I suppose this is the most important part of anything to do with boat handling. And the question to you guys is, how's this boat going to sit in the water, in the wind, without the engine running, or without the engine being in gear? I know we switched it off, but David, what do you think?
It's probably going to lie with the wind pushing the boat upriver underneath this cuddy, probably bow first.
Charles?
I think the stern will be brought around with the prop being in the water, all going with the tide, and obviously with the canopy obviously holding it out so the house at the front is into the wind.
Okay. Phil, what do you think?
I think it'll lie with its bow into the wind, because the wind will get under the canopy.
Right. That's very interesting, because I've got a whole selection of ideas here. But now let's look at what's actually happening around us now. The wind is coming from there, the sharp edges of the waves are coming at us, and the soft edges of the waves are going the other way. The wind is coming at the moment over the starboard side of the boat. Can you actually see that? We're sitting broadside to the wind, and most boats will sit broadside to the wind when they're dead in the wind.
On the starboard side, point to the casualty, please, don't take your eye off the casualty. Slowing down, and turning to starboard. At this point I've been trying to sort out the wind direction. I've got a real problem here with the wind direction. Don't take your eye off the casualty. Slowing down, port side. Looking at wind coming over the right hand side of the boat at the moment. Going to neutral now. Can you speak to Joe, please? Can you ask him if he's okay? And can you also tell him that picking him up on his port side? Can you shout at him, Dave, please?
Yeah, are you okay, Joe? Yeah, he's okay.
Okay, so then we're coming in, port side 2. Distance, please, Dave?
Distance 5 metres.
Keep it talking down.
Yeah, distance 4 metres.
Take him round to the back of the boat, bring him over the ladder, that'd be great. Water that you can see out there doesn't necessarily mean we can use it. We don't know how deep it is. It looks wet, it is wet, but what's underneath is a problem. So the chart is really important to us. We have a chart, the chart will give us our position on the water, but it will also give us information and show us depths of water and water that we can use. So we've got the brown area, which is land, the green area, which is covered and uncovered as the tide rises and falls. that area there, that chart datum area, is 0. And then after that you've got the contour lines 2 meters, then 5 meters and 10 meters. So we do need to know how much water we've got underneath us. Also on the chart is a latitude and longitude scale. The latitude scale goes down the side of the chart, it gives us our position. The longitude scale goes down the top and bottom of the chart, and that gives us our longitudinal position. So once we've got latitude and longitude, we can sort out our position. And that's bringing in, of course, satellite navigation, which is we call GPS, Global Positioning System. That will give us our latitude and longitude. So from that we can find our location anywhere in the world. But we do need to have a chart with us to be able to fill that in.